Story 1. I work as a concierge at Riverside Medical Plaza, a 15-story building that houses various doctors' offices, physical therapy clinics, and medical labs. Been here for about 4 years now after I finished my hospitality management degree. It's not glamorous work, but I help people navigate what can be a stressful experience when they're dealing with health issues. My job involves everything from giving directions to managing deliveries and handling building maintenance requests. I sit at the front desk in the main lobby, and I've seen just about everything. Nervous patients, frustrated family members, delivery drivers trying to find the right office. Most people are dealing with enough stress without adding building navigation to their problems. The building has 2 elevators that serve all 15 floors. During busy periods, especially mid-morning when most appointments are scheduled, there can be decent wait times. People generally understand this and are patient, especially since many of our visitors are elderly or mobility impaired. That Tuesday morning started normally. I was helping an elderly couple find the cardiology office on the 9th floor when I noticed her. Middle-aged woman with perfectly styled hair, expensive workout clothes, and that particular stance that screamed entitlement. She was standing with a boy who looked about 10 years old, completely normal kid playing on his phone. The elevator arrived, and several people who'd been waiting started to board. That's when she made her move. "Karen, stop. Nobody else is getting on this elevator." She literally spread her arms wide, blocking the elevator entrance like she was guarding Fort Knox. The people trying to board stopped in confusion. "Confused patient, excuse me. Karen, my son has anxiety about crowded spaces. He needs to ride alone." I got up from my desk and walked over, thinking maybe I could help resolve whatever the issue was. "Ma'am, is there a problem I can help with?" Karen, "Yes, I need to reserve this elevator for my son. He can't handle being around strangers in small spaces." I understand that can be challenging, but this is a public building. The elevators are shared by all visitors. The people who'd been trying to board were getting impatient. One elderly man with a walker was clearly struggling to stand while waiting. "Karen, I don't care. My son's mental health is more important than their convenience." Patient with walker, "Lady, some of us have medical appointments to get to." Karen, "Then take the stairs. My son is a priority here." I looked at the kid, who seemed mortified by his mother's behavior. He was tugging on her sleeve and whispering something, but she ignored him. "Son, Mom, it's okay. I don't mind sharing the elevator." Karen, "Don't be ridiculous, sweetheart. These people don't understand your needs like I do." Ma'am, if your son has specific medical needs, I can call his doctor's office and see if they have any suggestions for accommodating him. Karen, his needs are simple, a private elevator ride. Is that too much to ask? More people were gathering behind us, creating a crowd in the lobby. The second elevator was on an upper floor, and people were starting to get frustrated. Another patient, "This is ridiculous. Move out of the way." Karen, "I'm not moving until you guarantee my son gets a private ride." That's when building security arrived. Our head of security had been watching the situation unfold on the lobby cameras and decided to intervene. Security guard, "Ma'am, you can't block access to the elevator. You need to either board or step aside." Karen, "I'm protecting my son's right to reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act." Security guard, "The ADA doesn't give you the right to prevent other people from using public elevators." Meanwhile, her son was looking increasingly upset, not because of elevator anxiety, but because his mother was making a scene in front of everyone. Son, "Mom, please stop. I just want to go to my appointment." Karen, "You see? He's getting distressed because of all these people pressuring him." Patient, "The kid is distressed because you're acting crazy." That comment set Karen off completely. She started yelling about discrimination and threatening to sue everyone in sight. The security guard had clearly had enough. Security guard, "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave the building. You're disrupting medical services for other patients." Karen, "You can't kick me out. My son has a legitimate appointment. Security guard, then he can attend it with you behaving appropriately, or he can reschedule. The whole time, the kid was getting more embarrassed. Finally, he spoke up louder than his whispered protests. Son, Mom, just get on the elevator with everyone else. I don't care who else is on it. Karen, don't let them pressure you. Honey, you deserve special treatment. Son, I don't want special treatment. I want to go to my appointment and go home. The second elevator finally arrived, and the security guard escorted Karen and her son onto it along with several other patients. She continued complaining loudly as the doors closed. About 30 minutes later, they came back down. Apparently, the doctor's office had been called about the lobby incident, and after speaking with both mother and son, they determined the boy had no documented anxiety issues that would require elevator accommodations. The kid looked relieved when they left. I heard him asking his mom if they could just use the stairs next time, which made everyone in the lobby chuckle. The security guard pulled me aside afterward and mentioned that Karen had been flagged in their system for similar incidents at other medical buildings downtown. Apparently, she had a habit of demanding special accommodations for problems that didn't actually exist. The best part came later that afternoon when the boy's doctor called our front desk. He wanted to apologize for the disruption and confirmed that the child had no medical conditions requiring private elevator access. He also mentioned that he'd recommended family counseling to address what he diplomatically called communication issues. We never saw Karen again, but her son started coming to appointments with his dad instead. Nice kid, perfectly capable of sharing an elevator with other people, just like everyone else. Story 2. I've been living on Maple Street for about 4 years now. It's a pretty typical residential neighborhood with narrow streets and limited parking. Most of us have driveways, but when people have parties or visitors come over, we all understand that street parking is fair game for everyone. It's never been a problem until she moved into the house 3 doors down from me. I work as a delivery driver for a local restaurant, so I'm in and out of the neighborhood at all hours. My work van is too big for my driveway, so I usually park it on the street in front of my house or wherever there's space. It's a public street, so I never thought twice about it. The woman who moved in last spring seemed to think differently. She apparently decided that the section of street directly in front of her house was her personal parking spot, even though she has a perfectly good driveway that she never uses because it's full of storage boxes and garden supplies. The first sign of trouble was when she started putting orange traffic cones out every morning. 4 of them, spaced perfectly to block about 30 feet of curb space right in front of her house. At first, I figured maybe she had some construction work planned or was expecting a delivery truck. But the cones stayed up day after day. When I finally saw her outside watering her plants, I decided to ask about it. Hey, are you having some work done? I noticed the cones have been up for a while. Karen, those cones are protecting my parking space. I can't have people blocking access to my property. But it's a public street. Anyone can park there. Karen, I pay property taxes. That gives me parking rights in front of my own house. I tried to explain that property taxes don't give you ownership of public streets, but she just walked back inside. I figured it wasn't worth arguing about since there was plenty of parking elsewhere on the street. The real problem started about 2 weeks later. I had worked a double shift and got home around midnight. The only parking spot available was right where her cones were set up. I was exhausted, so I moved 2 of the cones aside, parked my van, and went to bed. I woke up at 6 in the morning to someone pounding on my front door. I stumbled downstairs in my pajamas to find her standing on my porch, holding one of the cones like a weapon. Karen, you moved my traffic control devices. That's tampering with safety equipment. Those are just regular cones. This is a public street. Karen, I'm calling the police. You're interfering with authorized parking management. She actually did call the police. Officer Davis showed up an hour later looking confused. Officer Davis, someone called about parking violations and tampering with traffic equipment. Me. She put cones on the public street and got mad when I moved them to park. Officer Davis, ma'am, you can't reserve public parking spaces with cones unless you have a permit. Karen, I have every right to protect my property access. These cones prevent parking violations. The officer explained that she couldn't block public street parking and asked her to remove the cones. She reluctantly agreed, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. The next morning, the cones were back. This time, she had added a handwritten sign that said, "No parking emergency access zone violators will be towed." Over the next few weeks, I watched her routine. Every morning, she'd set up her fake parking enforcement zone. If anyone moved the cones or parked there anyway, she'd march out and confront them aggressively. I saw her argue with the mailman when he moved a cone to get closer to her mailbox. She yelled at a teenager who moved them to park for his friend's birthday party. She even called the police on an elderly couple who were visiting their grandkids next door. The situation escalated last Tuesday. I came home from work to find all 4 cones knocked over and scattered around the street. She was standing in her front yard screaming at this college kid who was trying to get back to his car. Karen, you destroyed city property. That's vandalism. College kid, lady, I just moved them so I could park. They're not even real traffic cones. Karen, you have no right to interfere with official parking enforcement. She actually grabbed the kid's arm when he tried to walk to his car. He pulled away, and she started hitting him with one of the cones. Kid, help. This crazy woman is attacking me. I ran over and pulled her away from him while he got in his car and drove off. She tried to hit me with the cone too. Karen, he assaulted me. He destroyed government property. Me, these aren't government property. You bought them at Home Depot. She called 911 claiming that people were destroying city traffic equipment and assaulting her. When Officer Rodriguez arrived, several neighbors had gathered to give their side of the story. Officer Rodriguez, ma'am, these witnesses say you were hitting people with traffic cones. Karen, I was defending authorized traffic control devices from vandalism. Officer Rodriguez, these are regular construction cones. You don't have any authority to block public parking. The officer arrested her for assault after 3 different neighbors confirmed they saw her attacking the college kid. While she was being handcuffed, she kept screaming about her rights as a taxpayer and how we were all violating federal parking regulations. Later that week, I found out she'd been doing the same thing at her previous address. Her old neighbors had gotten a restraining order after she attacked someone with a garden hose for parking near her house. The cones disappeared after she got out of jail, and so did she. New owners moved in last month, and they actually used their driveway for parking like normal people. Sometimes I park right in front of their house when I'm unloading groceries, and you know what happens? Absolutely nothing, because that's how public streets are supposed to work. Story 3. I've been teaching 5th grade at Riverside Elementary for 9 years now. Every year, we hold our school science fair in the multipurpose room, and it's always one of my favorite events. The kids work so hard on their projects, and seeing their excitement when they present their experiments is what teaching is all about. But this year's science fair turned into something I never could have imagined. Let me start with some background. This year I had 2 students whose projects really stood out. Sarah had created this amazing volcano demonstration that showed different types of eruptions based on the viscosity of the lava. She'd spent weeks researching real volcanoes, mixing different materials to get the right consistency, and even created a detailed report about Mount Vesuvius. Her display board was colorful, well-organized, and clearly showed months of hard work. Then there was Karen's son, let's call him David. David's project was about plant growth under different light conditions. It was a solid project. He'd grown beans under regular light, colored lights, and no light at all. But here's the thing, I could tell Karen had done most of the work. The handwriting on the report kept switching between David's messy scrawl and an adult's neat cursive. The vocabulary was way above 5th grade level. And when I asked David questions about his methodology during our practice presentations, He couldn't really explain what he'd done. I'd tried talking to Karen about this during parent conferences. I explained that the science fair was about the kids learning the scientific process, not about having the most impressive display. She'd smiled and nodded, but I could tell she didn't really get it. The morning of the science fair, I arrived early to help kids set up their projects on the long tables we'd arranged around the multipurpose room. Sarah was one of the first to arrive, carefully arranging her volcano, her research notes, and her materials for the demonstration. She was so proud, kept asking me if everything looked okay, if her volcano was positioned right, if her poster board was straight. Me, Sarah, it looks absolutely perfect. You should be really proud of all the work you put into this. Sarah, thanks. I can't wait for the judges to see it erupt. David arrived about 20 minutes later with his mom Karen carrying most of his materials. His display was impressive, I'll give them that. Professional-looking charts, perfect lettering, plants arranged like something out of a gardening magazine. But when I asked David to explain his hypothesis, he just stared at me blankly. Me, David, can you tell me what you expected to happen when you started your experiment? David, the plants would grow different. Karen immediately jumped in. Karen, what David means is that he hypothesized that different wavelengths of light would affect the rate of photosynthesis and subsequently the growth patterns of the bean plants. That's when I knew for sure who had really done this project. The judging was scheduled to start at 10 o'clock. Parents and community volunteers would walk around, look at all the projects, and ask the kids questions. At 9:45, I was helping another student when I heard a commotion from across the room. Karen was standing next to Sarah's table, and Sarah was nowhere to be seen. Karen, this table has much better lighting. David's project will be more visible here. I rushed over to see what was happening. Karen had actually picked up Sarah's entire volcano display, the mountain, the research board, all of her materials, and moved it to a smaller table in the corner. She was now setting up David's plant project in Sarah's spot. Me, what are you doing? That's Sarah's table. Karen, this is a better location for David's project. It's more centrally located, and the judges will see it better. Me, you can't just move another student's project. Sarah specifically chose this table, and she set up here first. Karen, well, David's project is more advanced. It deserves the premium spot. I looked around for Sarah and spotted her by the corner table where her project had been dumped. She was crying, trying to set her volcano back up, but some of her materials had spilled when Karen moved everything. Me, ma'am, you need to move David's project back to his original table right now. Karen, I don't think so. Placement matters in competitions like this. My son's project needs to be seen. At this point, other parents were starting to stare. The judges had arrived and were watching this whole scene unfold. Me, this is not a competition. This is about kids learning science, and you cannot move other students' work. Karen, everything is a competition. You teachers just don't want to admit it. I walked over to help Sarah, whose volcano had been damaged when Karen moved it so roughly. The baking soda and vinegar had mixed prematurely, and her carefully crafted mountain was now a soggy mess. Sarah, my volcano is ruined. I can't do my demonstration now. Karen overheard this and actually seemed pleased. Karen, well, now there's definitely room for David's project in the good spot. That's when I lost it. Me, ma'am, you just sabotaged an 11-year-old's project that she's been working on for 2 months. That is completely unacceptable. Karen, I didn't sabotage anything. I just moved some things around. One of the judges, a retired science teacher, walked over. Judge, excuse me, what exactly happened here? Me, this parent removed another student's project from this table and replaced it with her son's project. In the process, she damaged the other student's experiment. Judge, ma'am, is that accurate? Karen, I was just trying to give my son a fair chance. His project is much more sophisticated than a simple volcano. The judge looked at Sarah's damaged project, then at David's perfect display, then back at Karen. Judge, Ma'am, science fair judging isn't about location or flashy displays. It's about understanding the scientific process. Karen, well, obviously David understands it better than she does. Judge, let's test that theory. The judge walked over to David and started asking him basic questions about his project. David couldn't explain his variables, didn't know what a control group was, and couldn't describe his methodology. Meanwhile, even with her ruined volcano, Sarah could explain every aspect of her research in detail. The principal, who had heard about the commotion, arrived just as Karen was trying to argue that the questions were too hard for fifth graders. Principal, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the science fair. Karen, you can't kick me out. I'm a parent. Principal, you damaged another student's project and disrupted our event. Security will escort you out if necessary. Karen, this is discrimination. You people are all against David. David, who had been standing quietly through all of this, finally spoke up. David, Mom, can we just go home? I'm embarrassed. That seemed to snap Karen back to reality for a moment. She looked around at all the people staring at her parents, teachers, judges, kids all watching her meltdown over an elementary school science fair. Karen, fine, but don't expect David to participate in any more of your biased events. After she left, I helped Sarah salvage what we could of her project. Even though her volcano couldn't erupt properly anymore, she could still explain her research. The judges were so impressed with her knowledge and her grace under pressure that she won first place in the Earth Science category. David never came back to school science fairs. His dad told me privately that Karen had been banned from all school events for the rest of the year. Sometimes protecting the kids means setting boundaries with the adults who should know better. Story 4. I've been working as a customer service representative at Atlanta International Airport for about 6 years now. I started here right after finishing my associate's degree because the airport offered good benefits and opportunities for advancement. My job involves helping passengers with everything from rebooking flights to finding lost luggage. It can be stressful dealing with frustrated travelers all day, but I genuinely enjoy helping people solve their problems. One thing that keeps me sane during long shifts is our staff break room. It's nothing fancy, just a small room behind the customer service desk with a few tables, a microwave, a coffee maker, and a refrigerator where we keep our lunches. The airline provides some basic snacks and drinks for employees, which is a nice perk considering how expensive airport food can be. Last Wednesday started as a typical busy day. We had several delayed flights due to weather, which meant long lines of upset passengers needing rebooking. I'd been dealing with complaints for about 4 hours straight without a break, and I was finally able to step into our staff room for 15 minutes to grab a sandwich and decompress. I had just sat down with my lunch when I heard someone trying to open the door. The handle rattled. Then I heard aggressive knocking. Voice outside, "Hello? This door is locked." I walked over and opened it slightly. There was a woman in her 40s wearing a business suit, holding a large coffee cup from one of the terminal shops. "Me, can I help you? This is a staff-only area." "Karen, perfect. I need to come in." "Me, I'm sorry, but this room is for airport employees only. Are you looking for the passenger lounge? That's on the upper level." "Karen, no, I don't want the passenger lounge. I want to use this one." "Me, ma'am, this is just our employee break room. You can't come in here." "Karen, why not? I'm a premium member with 3 different airlines. I should have access to all airport facilities." I tried to explain politely. "Me, being a frequent flyer doesn't give you access to employee areas. The passenger lounge upstairs has much better amenities anyway." "Karen, I already checked the passenger lounge. They want to charge me $40 just to get in. That's ridiculous." "Me, I understand, but this area is restricted to staff only. It's actually an FI regulation." That's when she pushed past me and walked right into our break room. "Karen, this is much better. It's quieter in here." "Me, ma'am, you cannot be in here." Please leave immediately. But she had already made herself comfortable at one of our tables and was looking around at our setup. Karen, oh, you have snacks? Perfect. I haven't eaten all day. She walked over to our snack area and started opening cabinets. We keep things like granola bars, crackers, and fruit cups that the airline stocks for employees working long shifts. Me, those are for employees only. You need to leave right now, or I'll have to call security. Karen, call security for what? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just getting a snack. She grabbed a granola bar and a bag of pretzels, then opened our refrigerator and took out a soda. Karen, you people have it made back here. Free food and drinks while passengers have to pay ridiculous prices. Me, those aren't free. They're employee benefits that we earn by working here. Karen, well, I paid for my ticket, so technically I'm contributing to your salaries. That means I should get access too. At this point, my coworker came back from her break and found the stranger eating our snacks. Coworker, who is this? Me. She forced her way in here and won't leave. Karen, I'm a customer, and the customer is always right. I demand the same treatment your employees get. Coworker, ma'am, you need to leave immediately, or we're calling airport police. Karen, go ahead and call them. I'll explain how your staff is discriminating against paying customers. So we did call airport police. While we waited, she made herself completely at home. She heated up someone's leftover pizza in our microwave, helped herself to more snacks, and even tried to use our employee Wi-Fi. Karen, this is exactly what I needed. You should advertise this room to premium passengers. Me, it's not a passenger amenity, it's a workplace break room. Karen, same difference. I deserve good treatment too. When airport police arrived, she was sitting at our table with a pile of snacks, acting like she owned the place. Police officer, ma'am, you're in a restricted area. You need to come with me. Karen, restricted. There's no sign on the door saying restricted. Police officer, it says authorized personnel only right on the door. Karen, that's not clear enough. It should say no passengers. Police officer, ma'am, let's go. You're trespassing. Karen, this is discrimination. I pay taxes that fund this airport. As they escorted her out, she was still clutching a bag of our pretzels and arguing about customer rights. She kept insisting that as a frequent flyer, she should have access to employee areas. Later, we found out she'd been banned from the airport for 48 hours. Security reviewed the cameras and discovered she'd been wandering around restricted areas all morning, trying doors and looking for unlocked staff rooms. The funniest part was when her airline called us later. Turns out she'd filed a complaint claiming we'd refused to serve her in the premium lounge she'd paid to access. When they checked her ticket, she hadn't paid for any lounge access at all. She'd been flying basic economy and thought her frequent flyer status entitled her to break into employee areas. We ended up having to put a better lock on our break room door, but at least we got a good story out of it. Story 5. I've been working at this clothing store for about 1.5 years now. It's a mid-range women's fashion store in the mall, nothing too fancy, but we carry decent quality clothes. I took this job right after high school because I needed to save money before starting community college. The pay isn't great, but the employee discount helps, and I've learned a lot about dealing with different types of people. Most customers are pretty normal. They try things on, buy what fits, and leave. But working retail teaches you that some people think the world revolves around them. I thought I'd seen it all until that Wednesday afternoon. It was a slow weekday, just me and my manager working the floor. We had maybe 3 other customers browsing around when she walked in. She looked like she meant business, carrying a huge purse and wearing expensive jewelry. She went straight to our sale rack and started grabbing armfuls of dresses, blouses, and pants. She wasn't even looking at sizes, just taking everything that caught her eye. Me, hi there, can I help you find anything specific? Karen, I need to try all of these on. Where are your fitting rooms? I showed her to our fitting room area. We have 4 small rooms, and 2 were already occupied by other customers. Me, here you go. You can use room 3. Just let me know if you need different sizes. She marched into the fitting room with her mountain of clothes and slammed the door shut. I heard the lock click immediately. About 5 minutes later, she started shouting from inside. Karen, I need this dress in a size 6. Me, which dress is that? Karen, the blue one with flowers. I looked through our blue floral dresses and brought her a size 6. Me, here you go. I knocked on the door, but she didn't open it. Karen, just leave it outside the door. This was unusual. Normally people open the door to take new items, but I left it outside and went back to helping other customers. 10 minutes later, she was shouting again. Karen, I need this same dress in a size 8, and that black top in a size medium. I brought her the items and left them outside her door. The other customers were starting to look annoyed because she was being so loud. This pattern continued for the next hour. Every few minutes she'd demand a different size of something. She never opened the door, just made me leave everything outside. The pile of clothes outside her fitting room kept growing. Customer 1, is she ever coming out? I need to try these jeans on. Me, I'm sure she'll be done soon. But she wasn't done. Another hour passed, and she kept demanding more sizes. She tried on practically every dress in the store in multiple sizes. Karen, bring me the red sweater in small, medium, and large. I can't decide which fits better. Customer 2, this is ridiculous. I've been waiting 45 minutes to use a fitting room. My manager finally intervened. Manager, ma'am, other customers need to use the fitting rooms. How much longer do you need? Karen, I'll take as long as I want. I'm trying to make a big purchase here. Manager, you've been in there for 2 hours. You need to make a decision or give other customers a turn. Karen, no, I'm not done yet. Bring me that striped shirt in every size you have. At this point, we had a line of frustrated customers waiting to try things on. The pile of rejected clothes outside her door was enormous. Manager, ma'am, I need you to open this door and let other customers use the fitting room. Karen, I'm not opening this door until I find the perfect outfit. Manager, if you don't come out in 5 minutes, I'm calling security. Karen, you can't make me leave. I'm a paying customer. Customer 3, you haven't paid for anything yet. After her 5 minutes were up, my manager called mall security. 2 guards showed up and knocked on the fitting room door. Security guard 1, ma'am, you need to exit the fitting room immediately. Karen, I have rights. I'm shopping. Security guard 2, you're preventing other customers from using the facilities. Come out now or we'll have to remove the door. Karen, you can't remove the door. That's illegal. But mall security had master keys. They unlocked the door from the outside and she came stumbling out, wearing her own clothes and looking furious. Karen, this is harassment. I'm going to sue all of you. She was standing there surrounded by probably 50 items of clothing she demanded in different sizes. Manager, are you purchasing any of these items? Karen, no, nothing fit right. Your sizes are all wrong. Security escorted her out of the store while she screamed about calling corporate and the Better Business Bureau. She was banned from the mall permanently. The other customers started applauding as soon as she left. We spent the next hour reorganizing all the clothes she'd scattered around.